Okay, we've somehow arrived in Egypt around 2550 BC, and right ahead of us is one of humanity's greatest projects, the Great Pyramid of King Khufu.
Move the block onto the ramp.
What's fascinating is that this isn't being built by a random crowd. Egypt has created an organised national workforce with specialised crews, supervisors and carefully managed supplies. These smooth white stones will form the pyramid's outer casing. Once completed, the entire monument will reflect sunlight and look dramatically brighter than the pyramid we know today. The local limestone comes directly from the Giza Plateau, which makes this location incredibly practical. The builders are essentially shaping the monument from the ground beneath their feet. The finest white limestone travels here from Tura by river. The Nile isn't just beautiful, it's the transportation system making construction on this extraordinary scale possible. This harbour connects the pyramid project to the rest of Egypt. Food, timber, stone and workers can all reach Giza through canals branching away from the Nile. And this is where many builders live. These planned settlements prove that pyramid construction requires an entire functioning community, not merely people dragging stones through the desert. Feeding such a large workforce is a massive operation of its own. Bread, beer, fish and onions provide the energy needed for long days of demanding physical labour. Egyptian bread comes in many shapes and qualities, and it's central to everyday life. This project also depends on advanced surveying. The pyramid's remarkable alignment and proportions come from careful observation, repeated measurement and generations of accumulated mathematical knowledge. From this height, you can finally understand the scale of the project. The pyramid depends on the harbour, settlements, fields and river stretching far beyond its stone base. Looking in the other direction, the contrast is incredible. Desert monuments behind us and an intensely green civilization ahead, all concentrated along the life-giving Nile. Now we're entering the royal palace, the administrative heart of the kingdom. Much of its architecture uses decorated mud brick and timber rather than permanent monumental stone. This is King Khufu and his queen, surrounded by carefully controlled palace life. Royal women can hold estates, religious positions and considerable influence within the dynasty. The court brings together relatives, officials, priests and scribes. Access to the king can determine appointments, resources and which families remain powerful across generations. And as the sun begins to fall, the Great Pyramid is still unfinished. These sculptors help create the king's eternal identity. In Old Kingdom belief, a statue can provide a lasting physical home for a person's spiritual presence. Wood is precious in Egypt because large trees are limited. Carpenters use available timber carefully, while imported wood is reserved for boats, furniture and important royal objects. Now we're following the Nile toward Memphis. This river connects farms, cities, temples and construction sites, effectively forming the central highway of the Egyptian kingdom. Memphis is close to the centre of royal government. Its port receives taxes, agricultural produce and materials from communities spread throughout both Upper and Lower Egypt. Markets like this reveal the ordinary economy behind the monuments. Egyptians exchange grain, linen, pottery, fish and tools, while standard measurements help maintain trust between traders. Most Egyptians don't live inside stone monuments. Their real cities are largely mud brick, designed with shaded lanes and enclosed homes that offer protection from the intense heat. Inside these courtyards, households function almost like small production centres. Food preparation, weaving, storage and childcare all happen together as part of ordinary family life. Pottery is essential because nearly everything needs a container. Water, grain, oil, beer and cosmetics are stored in vessels whose shapes often reveal their exact purpose. Linen begins with flax grown beside the Nile. Producing a finished garment requires harvesting, spinning and weaving. Scribes hold enormous influence because administration depends on written records. They track grain, workers, land and supplies, turning information into one of the kingdom's greatest sources of power. These granaries protect Egypt's agricultural wealth. Stored grain can pay workers, support temples and help communities survive when a harvest is weaker than expected. And here's the real foundation of this civilization, the floodplain. Without the Nile renewing these fields, neither Memphis nor the enormous pyramid project could exist at this scale. Egyptian farmers organise fields around the river's seasonal rhythm. Managing water successfully creates surplus food, and that surplus supports specialists who don't need to farm themselves. Papyrus is far more than writing material. Egyptians use it for boats, mats, baskets and rope, making these wetlands one of the country's most valuable natural environments. We've now entered a temple connected to the royal complex. The pyramid isn't standing alone, it belongs to a carefully planned landscape of worship, offerings and remembrance. These ceremonies maintain the king's relationship with the gods and the kingdom. Royal power in Egypt is political, economic and deeply religious at the same time. And that's where we'll leave ancient Egypt for today. I'll see you again somewhere else in the world, in another century.